Tonight, a voting how-to ahead of tomorrow's federal election, which will determine the future of Grey. And looking to the community, a statewide law reform body heads to Port Pirie to enact change for vulnerable people.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Well, it's the eve of the federal election. Come tomorrow, voters will head to the polls to help shape what the political landscape will look like for the next 4 years. For those voting for the first time or for those who just need a refresher, here's a reminder on how to vote.
In an election, every vote counts. Almost a quarter of voters in the electorate of Grey have already cast their ballot for this year's federal election. Polling data reveals that 13.3% of people have already cast their ballots via postal vote, while an additional 10.7% of residents have chosen to head to the booths early. But for everyone else, we will head to the polls tomorrow to navigate the lineups and how to vote cards. All Australian citizens aged 18 years and over who have enrolled to vote will have to complete 2 ballot papers. A green one for the House of Representatives and a large white one for the Senate. On the green House of Representatives ballot paper, put a 1 in the box of your first choice and a 2 in the box of your second choice until you have numbered every box. Greens candidate Tim White has drawn first spot on the ballot paper for the electorate of Grey.
Well, that's always pretty awesome, but I don't know whether the donkey vote carries much weight these days. I'm a bit uncertain about that. I think in the past potentially, but I don't know, I'd like to give voters a little bit more credence that they're just a little bit more savvy these days.
While current member for Grey, Rowan Ramsey, has drawn 9th spot on the ballot paper.
Kind of down the bottom, isn't it? Look, I think you've got to grant most people have got the intelligence to work out how they want to mark the ballot card.
Mr. Ramsey says he doubts having the last box on the paper will affect the outcome.
You need to get your message out to the people, make them understand where you are on the card. And I'm number 9, so let's drop your number 1 in number 9, and that'll do.
To vote for the Senate, put a 1 in the box above the line for the party that is your first choice, and then a 2 in the box of your second choice, and so on until you have numbered at least 6 boxes. Or you can choose to vote below the line by numbering at least 12 boxes for individual candidates in order of your choice. Voting booths will open at 8 a.m. tomorrow, with the last votes to be cast by 6 p.m. sharp. For a detailed list of polling booths near you, head to the AEC website. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The father of a Port Lincoln man who died of a drug overdose is offering a reward for anyone with information about his son's death. Robin Johnson is hoping to raise $100,000 so it can be offered to the person who helps solve the case. 29-year-old Daniel Johnson died after being found semi-conscious on a Port Lincoln oval in August last year. Mr. Johnson is convinced his son was murdered, telling 7 News Adelaide that just hours before he died, his son was receiving death threats. Robin's son's fatal overdose is one of dozens set to be reviewed across the state as part of a triple murder investigation linked to a suburban drug ring. The independent South Australian Law Reform Institute has travelled from their base at the University of Adelaide to Port Pirie. The law reform body spent the day talking to the community as part of its independent review of the state's laws regarding the safeguarding of vulnerable adults.
Safeguarding laws are in the spotlight at the Port Pirie Uni Hub. Community members are invited to have their say on the current legislation regarding vulnerable adults.
So I think it's very important to be inclusive with everyone here in Australia. The South Australian Law Reform Institute is based in Adelaide. However, I feel like it's very important to get everybody's opinions outside of Adelaide and not just the city centre.
The South Australian Law Reform Institute places a high priority on regional, rural and Aboriginal communities and aims to prevent abuse of ageing people and other vulnerable adults. The body is interested in how the current laws under the Ageing and Adult Safeguarding Act work in practice and whether changes need to be made.
That adult safeguarding unit has functioned since its operation commenced 5 years ago, and whether what it does is still what the community expects it to do and wants it to do moving forward.
The Law Reform Institute wants to encourage community members to have their say, and it doesn't have to be in person or face-to-face.
There are other ways that you can contact us at Salary, so we can also accept a written email. It could be a formal or informal submission. We can also set up a Zoom or a Teams meeting as well.
After consultation, Salary will review the submissions and make recommendations on ways to improve the Act. To participate in the consultation, email Salary or fill out a survey on their website. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, the poignant way the RAA is honouring those who have lost their lives on Spencer Gulf roads. And our reporter Joshua Mercer heads to Jubilee Oval in Broken Hill to talk all things Volunteer Week. Welcome back. This National Road Safety Week, the RAA is informing the community about the increase in instances of regional road trauma. The motoring body running a series of practical displays along with a social media campaign to remind Spencer Gulf locals to stay safe on our roads.
64 empty chairs, laid out to represent lives lost in the Air and Western Police Service area over the past 10 years. The shocking imagery strewn out over the Wyler foreshore in hopes of raising awareness. The display put together by the RAA as a part of this year's National Road Safety Week.
This represents the number of people who are no longer with us, and particularly in communities where everyone tends to know everybody or their family or their friends or has some level of community involvement. The impacts go far beyond just the person who's lost their life.
This Road Safety Week, the RAA is focusing on vulnerable road users in an effort to reduce the carnage on South Australian streets.
If we think over that 10 years for the state in total, there's been 973 lives lost, but 2/3 of those, or 638, have actually occurred on our regional road network.
These empty chairs are just one of the many displays the RAA has set up across the state to bring home their message.
So we've set displays up in Victor Harbour, Murray Bridge, Renmark as well, across in Clare in the mid-north of the states, and of course Whyalla.
The number of lives lost on South Australia's regional roads increased to 71 last year, up from 64 in 2020, despite the best efforts of road safety advocates. The number of people seriously injured on regional roads also grew significantly from 310 to 343 in the same period, leaving many with life-changing mental and physical trauma.
Particularly in the regional areas, we know that driving is absolutely essential to your everyday lives, but equally importantly to ensure that you don't take the task for granted, even if you travel these roads many, many hundreds of times before.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
It's National Volunteer Week and Cricket New South Wales is making sure a Broken Hill resident gets the recognition he deserves. Peter Johnston has been volunteering with the organisation since the age of 16, putting in countless hours of service.
If you're down at the cricket on a Saturday or happen to catch our cricket tips on a Friday night during summer, then you would no doubt recognise Peter Johnston. He was born into the game, watching his dad play ever since he was a little boy.
I started following him when I was 5, and then of course I've played 45 years of senior cricket in Broken Hill.
Peter started as a cricket volunteer at the age of 16. He has racked up over half a century with the Barrier District Cricket League, wearing many different hats during his time there.
I basically started at the age of 16 where I joined the executive of the Barrier District Cricket League, so this is my 54th year on the Barrier District Cricket League.
Volunteering runs in the Johnson family. His father, Lionel Johnson, was known to donate his time to the AFL. The Broken Hill League's Best and Fairest medal is even named after him, while Peter's daughter also volunteers in Adelaide.
I think that basically volunteering's a little bit of hereditary there, because my father was involved in AFL football here for over 50 years.
In that time, Peter has seen the growth of women's cricket in the city, saying they had a bit of a network into starting a league by tapping into the Women's Footy League.
it's been a huge success story, and we found so much so. I think the girls, we certainly found that with AFL football here. The girls are probably or as passionate as the men, if not more.
Be sure to thank your local volunteers this week. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still ahead, will your local polling booth be closed tomorrow? Coming up, the AEC alerts residents in the electorate of Grey of possible understaffing at the polls. And sit back and relax at Broken Hill City Library as they stream the Sydney Writers' Festival for all to see. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Golf News. The AEC has alerted residents across Grey that some areas have faced difficulties with recruiting staff to man the polling sites, which may lead to some of the planned polling places being unable to open on election day. Electoral Commissioner Tom Rogers says most polling places will be in operation for the federal election, but some are at risk. Locations that could be affected include Georgetown, Arthurton, Maitland, Orroroo, Port Augusta East, Port Pirie, Watervale and Whyalla. There is still time to register to staff the struggling locations so that polling places remain open tomorrow. The Sydney Writers' Festival kicks off today with a who's who of people from the literary scene taking part. Broken Hill City Library is streaming the event tomorrow for those keen to hear some words of wisdom from the professionals.
Calling all bookworms, the Broken Hill City Library is live streaming the Sydney Writers' Festival, and tomorrow is its last day.
So if they just come to the library, they can come in, take a seat, and they can start watching the Sydney Writers' Festival today until 4:30, and it'll also be running between 10 and 1 tomorrow as well.
This is a great opportunity for the people of Broken Hill to come down and hear some words of wisdom, something they may not normally get to do. And you don't have to buy a ticket.
Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity for people in Broken Hill. It's being filmed in Sydney, so for people that live out here that wouldn't be able to make it to the live screening of it, they can come here and they can watch it for free.
The event has been pretty popular over the years, and this year it's shaping up to be no different.
We're expecting to get a few more in throughout today and then tomorrow as well. But yeah, we've had some very popular years with the Sydney Writers' Festival being screened here.
Each year the festival has a different theme. This year's theme, Change My Mind.
Yeah, so it's kind of, they're usually quite open-ended, and that also is another great thing about the Sydney Writers' Festival is it leads to a lot of interesting conversations and you know, issues and things being raised.
Who better to discuss the theme than the staff at the Broken Hill City Library, people who spend their entire working days around books. It's something they're excited to share with the community.
It's so nice to see people come in and actually use our facilities. People are really engaged with it, and it's fabulous to actually see.
It is very interesting for me to be here and to get that experience in the actual Light Festival. It's very fascinating.
Well, it's really exciting. I think there's a bit of a buzz at the library today because we're able to live stream an event like that, a really prestigious event.
Tomorrow is the last day you can catch the festival. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our footy experts preview this weekend's footy games across the Spencer Golf, and we'll have the weekend weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Golf News. We're heading into round 5 of local footy this weekend. Let's kick things off with Jason DePaulo with his tips for all the games around Port Lincoln.
Welcome to Port Lincoln Footy Tips in round 5. We kick things off at Wongaree where Marble Range are hosting Mallee Park. Marble Range are undefeated so far this season and I can't see them losing at home. I'm going to tip Marble Range to win this one by 5 goals. In the next game we've got Boston's hosting Lincoln South at Poole Oval. Lincoln South have something to prove after Marble Range beat them convincingly last week, so I'm tipping them to fight back and win this one and win it by 5 goals. In the last game and match of the round we got Waybacks hosting Tasmans at Centenary Oval. This should be a great game. Waybacks are looking to find some form, but Tasmans look like one of the teams to beat this year. I think I'm going to go with Tasmans, but in a close game, under 10 points.
Big round of Whyalla football coming up this weekend. Gets underway tonight at Bennett Oval. It's Central Whyalla versus South Whyalla. It's top versus bottom, and I think those margins are going to reflect that, and Central should have a comfortable win. Saturday's game at Bennett Oval, Westweiler versus Rapina. Both teams in the bottom half of the top four. They're having a good season so far. This will be close, and maybe the Dragons will bounce back after a loss last week. And finally, on Saturday at Memorial Oval, it's their family day, meaning all grades are playing on the same ground. Roona Bay versus North Whyalla. Bays are having a great season. They're towards the top of the ladder, and the Tigers should have a win.
This weekend we'll see one of the most exciting rounds of football in years here in Broken Hill. It's a double-header at Jubilee Oval. In the late game, North plays South. South have been the champion team of this competition for the last 4 or 5 years. The Bulldogs have recruited. Have they recruited well enough to knock the Roos off top spot? I don't think so. I'm going to stick with South. They're the reigning champs. In the early game, West and Central. In the first game of the year, Central got over the Robins to win a fantastic contest. There'll be nothing in this, a cigarette paper at best. I'll lean towards the Robins.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, it's looking like a lovely weekend for most parts.
Indeed it is, Maddie, and the sun was shining today in most centres, and those conditions continue tomorrow. At 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta was 19, Port Lincoln was partly cloudy and 18, and Port Pirie was mostly sunny and 20 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla was mostly sunny and 17, Adelaide and Coffin Bay were both 18, Woodner reached 19, Kadina and Cleve were both 16, Clare was 15 degrees and Cooper Pedy reached 17. Over the border, it got to a high of 13 in Broken Hill. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud across much of interior South Australia is bringing patchy rain with the odd thunderstorm in the west. Patchy cloud in the south is not bringing any rain, and there are no current warnings for South Australia. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. East to northeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swell around a metre. Port Lincoln and Cleve both mostly sunny and 18 degrees tomorrow. Similar conditions in Woodner, set to reach a top of 21. Whyalla sunny and 19, Port Augusta to reach 22, Kadina sunny and set to top 20 degrees. Port Pirie sunny and 22. Similar conditions for Clare, set to reach a high of 17 there, and over the border at Broken Hill, partly cloudy and 16. To Sunday now, partly cloudy across the region again. Temperatures mainly fine in the low to mid 20s. Over the border, Broken Hill will just reach a max of 14, and our friends in Adelaide will get to a sunny top of 21. Taking a look further through to next week now, partly cloudy again across the region. Cooper Pedy, Kadina, Adelaide and Whyalla all 21. Port Augusta and Woodner all 23 degrees. Broken Hill a max of 14. But the dry conditions come to an end on Tuesday. Showers right across the Gulf. Temperatures mainly in the low to mid 20s, partly cloudy in Adelaide. And Maddie, I know you thought we were going to get through the bulletin without acknowledging the fact that it's not just Federal Election Day tomorrow, but it's also your birthday. Wishing you a very happy weekend celebrating, and that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. You enjoy your weekend as well. And that's the local news this Friday. I'm Madeline Kerr. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. See you Monday. Good night.